Chrome Pipes and Pinstripes, episode 203, Riggs Fabrication and Restoration.
Hello and welcome to episode 203 of Chrome Pipes and Pinstripes. I'm your host, Royboy from RoyboyProductions.com. That's a website where you can find all the hot rod and custom car show photos I take for you all over the country when we're not in a pandemic, you know. So I've been going to a couple shows lately. Went to the Tulsa Starbird show and also the Stray Cat 500. That coverage is all up on Affordable Street Rods, or on Affordable Street. I'm used to talking about my day job. It's all up on RoyboyProductions.com. That was not a plug on purpose. I'm just going to leave it in there, though, because editing takes time, and I'm just ready to get this out there. The podcast should have been out a few weeks ago. Apologize about that. A lot of crap's been going on behind the scenes on the server side of the website, and it's really gotten annoying. It's way over my head, and all the tech people that are supposed to help you with this stuff, they don't know what they're doing. So it's really been a learning experience for me. And mostly what I'm learning is that I don't know enough. So it's time to get into this episode here. This is a buddy of mine I met a few years ago, and really we've become friends over the years, and we just don't get to see each other enough. So this was actually a fun time to sit and talk. But it's Mr. Jay Riggs from Riggs Fabrication and Restoration out in Fort Worth, Texas. And I think you're really going to enjoy this, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Welcome to the show, Jay. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
I'm really well. You know, Saturday we were in summer down at the Stray Cat 500. By Sunday morning we were in late fall, felt like, and this morning it feels like a late winter.
You know, I saw some of those pictures, and it was like the guys that were, wearing jackets, and it was like, well, they are up north for us, but it's the same. Monday morning, so Saturday I was getting sunburn outside, which was great. And Monday, I didn't dress right for work. I was cold the whole day, and I was like, I'm smarter than this. I've grown up here. I know, but yeah.
I just looked at the highs for the weekend, so I go down to the car show. I didn't take a jacket. I didn't have a hoodie. I didn't even think about that stuff because it's going to be 85 degrees. Well, no, it was 45 at night. So we're sitting out there having some rum and cokes in the parking lot, and it got a little bit chilly.
A little bit. So nobody had a campfire.
Yeah, well, I was trying to get you to come up to 2 shows in Oklahoma in a week, but that's a lot when you're trying to run a shop. So,
man, but looking at that, I saw your pictures and Larry Davison's pictures and a couple other guys that they don't post as much as like you do and Larry, but it was like I was looking at the cool cars, going, why in the world would you not make that a priority show? Austin's gotten a little too weird. So why not go to Tulsa?
Yeah, and then this show is just only 45 minutes further north from Tulsa, so you know what the roads are like between you and Tulsa. And
you might break a shock mount if not prepared.
Yeah. From Tulsa north though, it's not too bad. A buddy of mine from down in the Houston area came up. He goes, "Yeah, we pulled over for gas about halfway up that turnpike from the Texas border, and I had a skirt falling off the Merc on the trailer." Wasn't even driving it. It was that rough on the trailer. So. Well, I brought you in here. I didn't really bring you in here to talk about the Stray Cat 500 so much as to talk about you and about the shop. So, man, for people who don't know anything about you, besides the fact that your name is Jay Riggs, because it's on the podcast, they can see it on the.
I see that on my screen image. Yeah.
Oh yeah. There you go. So Jay, tell me, what is Riggs Fabrication, first of all?
So we're halfway through our 9th year in business. We are I guess you'd just call it a full service restoration and custom shop. So we kind of have a cutoff where we don't take anything in older than 1975. That disappoints some people, but at the same time, I just tell them, hey, we're trying to keep what we do a little pure. And I used to say it was 72, and then good guys moved up to 87, and well, square bodies are cool, so you kind of have to have a 78 or 79 every now and again. But we get guys that are confused that we won't take in a 1995 project, and it's like, yeah, but it's not old, and they're like, but it is. I'm like, no, we're 75 and older, like old. And so our shop right now, we have The oldest project we have is a 1929, and the newest project is a 79.
Okay.
So we're heavy mix. We've got a couple of Mercuries. We got 2 Chop 50 Mercs. We got a 40 Merc. We've got 2 Ford F1s. We've got 2 early 50 Chevys. I mean, we got a nice mix of everything. We got a bunch of Broncos, several Camaros, a couple of Mustangs. It's all over the board. But we're doing everything from tear down and sandblast through full build, new motor, chassis, all modern components or old, whichever you're into. We got some I-beam stuff, and then we're doing paint and body, and not doing upholstery yet. So we'll see what happens there.
But when you started, I mean, the name was Riggs Fabrication. When you started, it was just you doing fab work, right?
Yeah. So I mean, the official LLC name is Fabrication and Restoration, and I didn't know what else to call it. I mean, what else are you doing? And we just thought it through, and I didn't want a goofball name, so it was. I just really wanted to do sheet metal. I wanted to chop tops and French headlights, and make cars cool. And then it evolved into a logic for business where, while the pro touring market is not necessarily my favorite market, the reality is it's a fantastic market, and there's a huge amount of interest. And if you're going to build a 69 Camaro, well, let's look at what the best ones look like, and let's strive for that, and put one of those on the road. And we kind of, my thing, I don't want trailer queens. I'm not wanting to build trailer queens, although we have quite a few cars that get trailered a lot. But the reality is everything is drivable, practical drivability, no 1,400 horsepower, non-drivable pieces. So,
well, and like you mentioned, when you went through the list there, if you do one Bronco and the Bronco community sees it, somebody tells a buddy, all of a sudden you'll have 2 or 3 more guys with Broncos be like, hey, I need you to take a look at this. Because one thing we know about early Broncos is it's rusty.
They are rusty.
There aren't any that aren't rusty.
Yes. And the other crazy trend is they want a Coyote motor in them, which is like the largest aftermarket motor I think that exists right now. But the thing is so I have a love-hate relationship with Broncos. I do not hate them, and I do not love them at the same time. But the reality, though, is the guys that are in love, and so it's this whole car culture, right? It's like you and I like the older stuff, and you and I like traditional hot rod, traditional custom stuff. But the guy with the Chevelle and the Camaro, they like that pro touring, and they like the horsepower and all the modernization. And I'm down. I mean, to me, it's we love the same thing. We just love it differently. And it's like the Bronco guys are in love with the Bronco. No different than the K5 Blazer guy is in love with the K5 Blazer. And Jeep people and the Toyota FJ Land Cruiser guys. I mean, those guys are passionate, and their passion is the same as you and I want to look at, say, an early 50s custom, right? Mm-hmm. Or a pre-war custom. You and I are excited. Well, they may not understand that, but the passion is exactly the same, where the Bronco guy is in love with the Bronco, and it's like, all right, well, your fuel is the same as my fuel, so we'll just apply it to the Bronco. And yes, they're very rusty. So
yeah. And the nice thing about, for your point of view as a shop, is it's all the same basic tool set that works on all of them.
Yeah,
I mean,
level plumb and square.
You might not use as much body, TIG welding on a body on a Corvette, but otherwise, all the steel pieces are the same. It's so it's not like you have to completely retrain your guys if somebody brings in something that you haven't worked on before. It's something they can adapt to.
Well, and that's the other cool part. Like, was as we've grown, like we're a staff of 10, and adding paint and body, I was able to add some guys that are 20 and 30 year career experienced body guys. And when you get into the 60s stuff, they know more about how to align panels. And we have a 67 Shelby Mustang, and it's got all the aftermarket metal mods that you would want to see on a pro touring build. And one of my guys is he's a genius at understanding what those body panels need. Whereas I can look at the 40 Merc and go, well, these fenders need this, and these lines need to be that. And he's over there going, I don't know. So it's a nice balance of trade, So
there you go. Yeah.
So.
So you said 9 years ago is when the business actually started. What were you doing for a living before you started it?
So I was in the telecom industry. So I was a sales rep. I sold, I don't know how to describe it better than technology products. So I was in the fiber optic and internet testing space. I basically just built a career and pursued where can I make a good living and be on the winning side of a team. So I was in fiber optics. So I did fusion splicing and fiber testing and internet testing and cellular testing and things like that. And I sold the equipment. So I had a technology background, and I had some really great experiences traveling across the country and selling stuff to telephone guys and cable TV guys. And I enjoyed that. But I started, I forget now. It's so long ago and I've had too many birthdays, but I mean, in the neighborhood of, if I were to throw a number at it, 16, 18 years ago, I bought a Model A. If I do the math. And yeah, so let's call it 15 years for lack of knowing, right?
Right. Makes you still younger too.
Yeah, no, I'm wearing my old man glasses so I can see. So that's a requirement of a birthday. Yeah. So no,
I can see things that are far away. I just can't see the screen right here.
So I'm the old dude that walks out of the shop with 3 pairs of glasses, and we don't need to talk about that part.
There's one in my daily driver.
I have some to weld with and some to drive with.
Yeah. I've got 4 pairs, but they're all basically the same.
Yeah, mine are all different. So it's there's an appointment in my future to fix that. So
it sucks.
I've had enough friends die. I just always say you're lucky. You know, these burdens are luck, and that's the way I choose to look at it. So I've lost some. Yeah,
we've
but yeah.
Yep. Okay, so you get a Model A 15 or so years ago, and you start working on it.
And that even started further back. Like I bought a motorcycle, and stock sucks, and we all know that. And so I took it apart and I started customizing it, and I had it painted, and I shaved and deleted and did, and then as soon as it got put back together, I was like, well, I like being in the garage. Like, I don't want to watch TV. I don't like football or baseball or basketball or hockey. I mean, what am I supposed to do? I want to be in the garage. But I was finished with my project, and I got frustrated that I didn't have something else to do. And then we had gone to a car show, and I met these guys that had a Model A, and they're like, dude, we know where one is, and we'll build a frame for you. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And that turned out not to be the smartest thing I ever did, except, I got started. And basically over a 4-year period of time, I built my car in my garage using, forums. I was on metal shaping forums and sites like the Jalopy Journal. And I read every single article that I needed to read and every post and asked every question. And until I understood how to do things, like what is a pinion angle and what does that mean? And, what do shocks need to be mounted as, and how do you not break them? And, how do you weld? And I just sat there and figured it all out. And, it took me 4 years before I could test drive my car. And there's a lot of people that did it faster. But I did that, and then I didn't want to do anything else. So one day I found myself unemployed, and I had a chop scheduled for a friend in my garage. And I wasn't planning on being unemployed, but I was scheduled to do a chop. And he and I had worked it out. We were going to do a chop for 4 weekends in a row, and I charged him a certain price. And I told him, if you don't show up, I'm going to charge you for your labor. And he agreed, and he showed up the whole time. But I was out of work, so I worked on it during the week and looked for a job. And then people knew I was at home and knew I could do metal work, and they kept bringing me work. And a funny story on that is I was actually at the city of Fort Worth getting a certificate of occupancy for my very first shop, 1,200 square feet. But I was downtown at the city in the permit office, and the code enforcement officer came to my door. My wife was home, and he was looking for me because I have some neighbors that didn't like me at the time. We moved since, so all my neighbors are gone. but they had reported me for working on cars at home, and I didn't know that, of course. But had I been home working on cars, I'd have gotten in trouble. But I was downtown getting a permit, so I was good. And that was and literally by a couple of hours. And And that was 2012. So that's how that all kind of kicked off.
Okay. So you had a motorcycle before that. When you do you remember a point where you first got into cars and motorcycles, all that, when you're like, hey, this is something I'm going to be into, versus, how many people are just into they played football, then they just follow football their whole lives, even if they're not playing or whatever their passion is. Did you ever find if you look back and you see the point where that maybe had blossomed,
Yeah.
it became what it
So
was? Blossom is such a
yeah,
weird word for men to talk about stuff, but yeah.
no. So it's easy. So like most boys in kindergarten, I had Hot Wheels, right? And collected every one of them that I could have, and I loved them, and I'd beat on them and paint them and all kinds of stuff. And then I did the glue together model thing, and I customized those. If there was a 2-in-1 kit, I bought every 2-in-1 kit I could afford, and then would mix parts from one kit to another, right. And and I wasn't good at it. And they were ugly. But I all the way back, my whole childhood. And at one point I told my parents I was going to build a car, and they told me that's too expensive. You can't do that. You have to buy them. And
you reminded them of this conversation now.
Well, we've had the conversation since, because it was my mom that brought it up there. And, but I mean, I'd have been like early elementary school, like first grade-ish, when you want to be an astronaut and a fireman and all that. So that car thing goes all the way back there. But we lived in Charlotte, North Carolina for a while, and had a really good friend. His name is Will Yance, just in case he comes across to listen to this. But he's in Fort Mill, South Carolina. And he had a really cool, I'm going to say 62, 64 Falcon station wagon. And he grew up going to Myrtle Beach, because Charlotte to Myrtle Beach is like Fort Worth to Austin, about 3 hours. And it was a surf wagon. It has surfboard. He had a friend that had done Tiki Family painting on the back, and he had done a 302 swap in it. So it was just this cool hot rod station wagon. And we cruised out to this show. I forget the name of the town. It's like Oakboro or Oakdale or something, just a town that's a half hour outside of Charlotte. And the whole like a lot of towns where you are, little town, and the whole town shuts down every first Friday or whatever. And but it was the first time I got to cruise out in a cool car, and the gas station where everyone stops and talks about white walls. And I remember my parents had one of these. And then we get to the show, and I realized he knew all the guys that had cars. And I saw that being a spectator, because I've been a spectator my whole life at car shows. And I was like, man, the guys that own these cars are having way more fun than the guys that are walking around looking at them. And I just decided, and I had him as an influencer. I won't call it a bad influence, because he was being a bad influence at a wife perspective, but he was teaching me how to get started. He was saying, buy a run and driving car, put a small block Chevy in it, do all these things. And of course, what did I do? I didn't listen, and I bought a Shell and a Mopar motor, because God forbid you don't pick an easy path when you try to build your first car, right? So don't do that. So, but that would be kind of the moment that trip and that car show with him, and the hook was completely set, and I just had to have one, and just literally just couldn't stop, dreaming about them. Yeah.
So you were building the custom models. You had all the Hot Wheels. What was the first modification you ever did to a car that you owned?
Oh, man, I was broke growing up, so I didn't have any money. I had a little, I think the first car I drove was a 1981 Pontiac Bonneville, and maybe the first modification was an amplifier.
Yeah,
I didn't have any money.
I had a 89 Ford Ranger with you put a cassette in the no, that one didn't have the cassette second. That was the second car. This one, when you turned on the radio, it would just continually search, and there was one button you could hit, and if you hit that button, it would stop searching. So you had to wait for, okay, I want to listen to 99.9 FM. All right, boom. Damn it, missed it. Let it go again. And then try to stop it on like the 3 stations we had in our town. Or you could put a cassette in it. And actually, it was this car. So then at some point, a cassette got stuck in it and you couldn't get it out. So I listened to Tesla's 5-man acoustical jam for a year, because I had no other option. It was stuck in there and I couldn't get out, but it would play. So I just let it play.
And today you can buy a radio at Walmart for $50. So.
Oh, yeah, you could buy a CD player for like for $50, and it actually doesn't skip like every
Yeah.
CD player we had
But-
back in the day.
Yeah, I say back then that was $350, and you couldn't drive over a bumpy road. So
Yeah. When
Yeah.
they first started doing
That's too funny.
the memory built into them, so you could listen ahead a few seconds, and it would actually go over one bump. Originally, it was one bump you could hit, but if you hit like two sets of railroad tracks, it was skipping on the second one.
So in like 1990, I had the portable CD player sitting on the towel in the seat of the car to help cushion it, so I could. Yeah,
Yep.
that's where I was. So maybe that was my first custom modification. Yeah.
I remember
the motorcycle was the first thing I customized.
Okay.
And I custom paint, lowered it, changed all the stock stuff off I could, and
Was it the same kind of thing as the car, where you're just like, okay, how do you do this modification, and go out and find some information on it and do it, or did you just kind of?
Yeah, I mean, motorcycles were easier, right? The stock tail lights look dumb, and you buy the cool one that they sell from the catalog,
Okay.
And then
So there's a lot of
my
bolt-on
friend
stuff
who
with
was
that
the
one.
bad influence. Yeah, and then like I think I borrowed a Dremel tool from someone that cut off a tab out of like 3/16 steel and went, "This is stupid. How do people do this?" And then realized that there are tools to do these things. Yeah,
A little
humble
bigger
beginnings.
than a Dremel.
Well, I mean, the neighbor was like, "Yeah, you can cut steel with this. You can borrow it." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And 68 minutes later,
I was going to say 2 hours later.
I cut off a 1-inch tab, but so that'd be where I started.
So
Yeah.
So you humble beginnings, so you start the business. You fast forward to 9 years ago. You say, hey, well, I'm not doing anything for a day gig right now, and I've got these people everybody knows and keeps asking me to do stuff. So you start that,
Right.
And then right before the codes inspector comes by, you're getting your first place, 1,200 square feet. Are you in a third building now? And that was the first one, or do you know how many times you've moved?
Well, I can count them. So the 1,200 square feet, that was just me. I had room for 4 cars, and the same little complex I was in, a 2,000 square foot space opened up before I was up on my year, and they just moved me in there. And then they didn't have any more room for me to grow. So by year 3, I went from 2,000 square foot to 3,000 square feet. And then year 4, the guy next door to me moved out, and he had 1,500. So I grabbed that. So I was in 4,500 square feet. That's where you would have met me and came to the shop parties when it rains. It always rains. We won't have another shop party during Good Guys because it's going to rain, and I can forecast that accurately. So
yes,
if you come to Good Guys in spring in Texas, it's going to rain. So the bands don't like it. The food truck doesn't like it. So we just won't do it again. And we'll let someone else learn that lesson. But
right.
So we were in 4,500 square feet for, I want to say, 9 minus 1. So up to the year 7. So from year 3 to year 7. So 4 years I stayed in 4,500 square feet, and I rented mini storage units to stick cars in as I rotated them. I'd drop somebody off in storage and bring somebody else in. And that was my temporary growth strategy. October of 2019, we moved into where we are now on 114 by Texas Motor Speedway. And then we started off with 10,000 square feet. And I thought that was huge. Like I thought, man, I need like a storage program for filling up this shop. And within probably 6 months, we rented the additional 5,000 square feet in the second building by us. So I think the official 15,211 square feet.
From 1,200.
Yes. in 9 years. Yeah. No, it's kind of nuts. Rent's stupid. We don't want to talk about what we pay in rent, but there's one more move planned, and we're looking for an opportunity to purchase something. So this move was to grow because we needed to grow, and then the second move will be to own. So that's.
So
I don't know how many times is that. So how many times
have we down a little bit? I'm only catching you from about here up. So there we go.
Better.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. So I mean, you've gotten pretty good at moving toolboxes. Is what it sounds like over the years.
No, it's awful. Yeah, I don't want to do it again.
One more time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as you're growing are you finding you're adding enough staff that you don't have room to do all the work, or you just have too many customers wanting to leave stuff with you and you have to kind of work around it? Was there one thing that kind of pushed you each time to move, or was it different in every instance?
Yeah. In the beginning, like the first 3 years, from 1,200 square feet, if I put a lift in, I lost a car.
Right.
And so that I couldn't survive on 3 cars. I needed a minimum of 4. Or at least that's the way I felt at the time. And so I needed more square footage because I couldn't add equipment without giving up floor space.
Fair enough.
And then when I moved to 2,000 square feet, I bought a lift and a brake and a shear and all the stuff. But then I found out that I could only have 1 employee, and I got more work and realized I needed 2. So then that's where we went to 3,000 square feet. And I became a 3-man shop. And so when we were in 4,500 square feet, I had to pass on opportunities for builds, or had to pass on opportunities for equipment, or had to pass on opportunities for employment because I didn't have room to put anybody else. And so that consistent need to satisfy each of those, right? I needed more equipment. I needed more employees. I needed more customers. It just kind of logical to grow. And when we made the decision to move to where we are right now, I had made the decision that it was important to add paint and body. We had tried to do paint and body before. We painted some really cool cars. I mean, one's recently in a magazine, and the green one. And then one guy's a GTO, and he wins best paint and all this around town. But we had quit doing paint, so it's like there's no paint credit, right? Because we quit doing it, and I learned a lot, right? I learned I'm not a painter, one, and I wasn't painting. I didn't paint any of the cars. I was just managing, but I learned a tremendous amount about that side of the business. And then when we moved to where we are, made a decision that it was best to bring that in house, and we just played the I'm not messing around card and went full in. We bought a nice booth, and we added a light package and added footage to it. And so when guys would drive by looking to see if there was a guy hiring a painter maybe, and they saw that we had a really nice booth and a really nice mixing bank and a really nice setup, they were like, hey, I'd like to work here. And so that played to my advantage. And then I didn't know that was going to happen, but it did. And so we've been able to get some really good employees by building a nice facility. We have nice square footage, nice equipment, and they know that. They know the difference.
Well, and they see that you're not half into it. You are full into it.
Correct.
You are dedicated to doing good work. And that probably means a lot for a talented person wanting to come work with you versus somebody who just wanting a gig anywhere.
Well, exactly. And so the guys on the paint and body side, and this was an interesting thing that came about with COVID was, collision centers, people weren't driving, and the bars were closed and restaurants were closed. So people weren't drinking and driving, which is good, but the collision centers, the traffic volumes were down. And so those guys were hurting, and it caused them to have a pause in life to reevaluate. What do I really want to do? Well, we were running an ad. We were running an ad to hire, and I was able to hire people away from the collision industry who I've never been able to touch before because they were making way too much money. But for the first time in forever that they remembered, their industry waffled, and restoration has not. So I would rather do this.
Sorry, I had an audio glitch there.
Oh, sorry.
So was on this in here. So restoration basically didn't flounder while collision did. So they get the chance to say, well, do I really want to paint another Toyota Corolla, or do I want to do something cool?
Exactly. And I literally have 4 guys on my paint and body team that all came literally from collision to us. And that's exactly, they know they're older, right? So the hustle is a young man's game. And as you get over 40, you start recognizing the priority to your family, the priority that, chasing the dollar is not as important as being happy. And old cars are cool, Honda Civic bumpers and F100 fenders and hoods, hey, whatever, or F-150s. I mean, so,
how many times can somebody who's a painter, how many times can you roll down the interstate and go, yep, I painted that Camry or whatever, versus that one thing that goes by that stands out and you can look over and go, yeah, I did that one. You know,
Well,
and it's the same way with me when I used to work in the construction business when I did drafting. Every time we went past a facility that I drew stuff on, anybody in the car is like, "Yeah, look, I drew that right there," you know. And there's a little pride to be said in doing something that's notable, you know.
so I started my career off as an AutoCAD draftsman. That's what I went to college
Yeah.
for, and I worked for this architect. And one of the main jobs was we drew these stores in the mall. So I was good at these construction build outs at the mall. And it's like we'd walk into one and go, "Yeah, I drew all this," and it's like nobody cares.
Right? I know.
Yeah, nobody
My
cares.
my girlfriend just rolls her eyes now. I'm gonna go past the grain elevator. She goes, "Yeah, yeah, I know."
Well, so and same, like, so my old career, we had this funny joke, and it came from dinner with a customer and his wife. But so I was into cell tower transmission and what they call backhaul, which is how do you get it out of the air and into the ground and back to AT&T.
Okay.
And so we were in the training class, and 4G was just a brand new thing. So what I always did was I sold new test equipment. So when there was a new test, we were in training classes for the new developmental stuff, right? So 4G was rolling out, and I was not a radio frequency guy. I was a fiber optic guy, so I understood light. And radio is AM FM, right? That's what we know, and the 99.9 is the frequency, and so we all understand that. But radar transmissions, this and that. Well, that's how cellular works. Well, so they were discussing how they were going to migrate from 3G to 4G, and he said the technology was called orthogonal frequency division multiplexing, and I understood it, right? I always called it smart guy class because there's an optical fiber optic PhD guy in there, who's a brain engineer, and I actually understood what he meant. And so I was at dinner, and I had posted on Facebook, like, here I am sitting in smart guy class, and they said this, and I actually understood what that meant, and I can explain it, which is crazy. But at dinner with the wife of a client, and she's just like, "Oh, geez, here we are." Well, then it became a joke, right? And then because it became a joke, and it's this odd term, it became something I always remembered in reference because it became funny, right? So orthogonal frequency division multiplexing is how 4G is transmitted, and it's like, woo! Don't ask me how 5G works. I have no idea. But anyway, so I used to do those things, but no one wanted to talk about it at all.
Right.
It didn't matter what airport you were at. It didn't matter where you were standing in line. No one wants to talk about that. But everybody has an uncle or a grandpa with a cool old car. So,
oh yeah, yep.
For our friends, they have cool cars. So,
so at the shop, you've done all kinds of things over the years. What do you think? I'm kind of reading my notes here.
Sure.
What do you see your role as a business owner, or how do you see your role as a business owner has changed from the time you had that first employee to where you are now, where you've got 10 total? I mean, you used to do all the work, right? And then you got a second guy, and now you probably don't get to work on vehicles nearly as much as you thought you were 9 years ago.
Yeah, I put in a 50-hour week as a normal, and longer if I'm getting more things done, and I probably have between 10 and 15 hours of that are actually me making something. But
Right.
So let's see. So that question's kind of broad, but
It is. It is.
Well, but
that way, if something sticks out, you can let it.
So kind of several years back, probably 5 years ago, I made a decision. And it was a passing of some of the greats, right? We've lost some of the great car builders over the last, let's just say the last decade, right? And that's in our future. We're going to lose more of those guys. And but somehow a conversation came up in the shop, and the guys were just, I think it might have been even like a Gene Winfield's birthday, right? It might have been a Sam Barris's anniversary, or Bo Huff, or somebody that's documented as being one of the greats, and the guys, just individually, the young guys, were just looking up cars that person had built, and it hit me. It's like, what do you want to be when you're an old dude? What do you want to be known for? And so I just kind of put it in my head, like I'd like 10, 12 significant builds in my career. And what does that mean? goes to answering your question is, what does that mean? And so I try to pay attention, from a where is our industry going perspective in technology. Like a game that I'm not playing is 3D modeling, laser scanning, 5-axis CNC routing. I'm not in that game. I'm like, oh wow, and being at like that '56 Oldsmobile at the Starbird show, and just understand some of the things they did to that car, and realize how many hours went into this thing that looked like a cup holder. And it's probably 100 hours in that thing. It's an $8,000 or $9,000 decorative doodad, and those tail lights and the 3D printing and all those things. And I'm not doing any of that stuff. We've had some things 3D printed, but I mean, I'm like, I see the shops that are doing this higher technology, and I recognize as an owner that it's my obligation to get there. Find that path. What does that look like? One of those 3-axis CNC machines are 70 grand used, maybe 50 if you find a good deal. And I'm over there going, I don't think I understand that yet. But the people that are doing
where's
it,
the ROI on that? How much do you have to do with it to make it worth not only the outlay, but then the physical space it has to take up in your shop is a car. That's one more customer car. It could be sitting there.
Absolutely. And then it's, do you want to do that, or do you want to stay in your lane? And then it's so that more as an owner, we had a tragic experience last year where one of our employees was killed in a car accident on his way home from work. And it was a terrible thing to go through, and I don't wish it on anybody. But as an owner, one of the things that I've always just been trying to be a better manager. So I study a lot about how to lead and how to manage, and my wife runs the office, and she studies and reads about how to do the books better. And so we're just constantly trying to provide a better work environment, trying to evolve. Like what are people used to, and how do we make that better? At the same time, customer experience, how do we make that better? What are shops? What's the normal shop experience? And how do we not do that? Or repeat the things that are good. So we had added 401k as an offering last year, and we added a accident insurance for our employees. Healthcare is still kind of out of our reach right now, but we added an accident program, gave them life insurance, and if you need stitches, it covers it, and broken bones and things like that. And when one of our guys was killed, it was an auto accident, and it was a double. And it was a terrible phone call to have to make, to call someone's spouse and tell them that you need them to come into the office and fill out some paperwork because they've got some insurance benefits. But at the same time, she had no idea. And it was a surprising amount because it was double, and he didn't take out anything extra. It was at the minimum that we provided. So as an employer, it made me, I've been aware, but it made me more aware that this industry exists out of passion pretty much only, right? It's passion and history. Like, it's the love of the history and the passion for the coolness of what we get to do. And as an employer, to be able to take care of employees and say, I care about you, I'm going to pay for you to have this. I didn't realize the value of that until that day, and then recognize, wow, here's a man who did not plan on that being his outcome. He probably had dinner plans or a football game to watch, or something to do the next day at work, and to be able to take care of that. So my big picture value is I see that I have a responsibility to lead the company to the technology levels that the industry is going, and utilize that, whether we do it or subcontract it. At the same time, take care of people better than average. Yeah. And so I feel like right now we've got a really solid team of guys that really feel that they understand that this isn't just some dirty mom and pop shop where, Ma and Pa may pass away one day, but it's an actual business that's driving towards a benchmark.
That's a big change. You start out, hey, I know how to cut and weld. And then one day you're like, I've got to make this phone call. And this spouse, this widow doesn't know anything about this. And while you have to dread the moment of the phone call, I imagine there was some sense of I don't know the right word for it, but there's some relief that, hey, we've got something for you that you didn't know it was coming, and this could probably really help you right now. We hate that we have to do this, but here.
That relief was not something that I could have even thought about. Like I literally, and I even remember the day that the sales guy was sitting down going over life insurance, and it's like, yeah, okay, I have life insurance, yeah, blah blah blah, whatever. And that's how, I mean, I'm paying for it, and that's how I thought about it. It was whatever, we don't need that shit, and so yeah, and so the relief part came later when you realize, like, wow, I actually feel good about that, which was a weird emotional combination, but
yeah. Well,
so.
I remember when that happened, and it's a crazy thing to go through, I should say, and it's cool that you were able to offer that to your people, so that, God forbid, something does happen, there's a little something there.
Right.
And like I said, yeah, I'm just cutting and welding some stuff in the garage, and then a decade later, was like, gosh, I'm a leader of people, and I have got to think about what's going to happen in the next few years, so that the people that trust me to provide a paycheck, can still get that paycheck.
Well, I've got some guys. One of my guys, he's worked in the restoration industry for, I think he's at 16 or 17 years. He's mid-50s guy, and we offer 401k, and never in his life has he ever thought that he would have that opportunity. And he was real confused about how it worked. And it's like, well, I mean, but we match. And he's like, well, I'm nervous about.
It's cut out on me.
That I'm giving you $100, but I won't give you $100 unless you put $100 in. And he's like, so I put 100 in and you put 100 in? And I go, yeah. And he's like, boom, and he's happy, so he's got a new level of pride in his life that he's never had before. And that feels good too. When I first started the shop, I was chopping the top on this 54 Plymouth. And then I was doing inner fender panels on a Rambler, and I was making a roof insert for a Model A, and I was in the English wheel every day. I'm just back and forth with my hands, and I'm smiling, right, ear to ear, because I am making money, and I really wasn't making money, but I was getting paid. I was getting paid something. I wasn't making any money. Don't kid myself.
Profit, that's a gray area.
It was, gray area. Yeah. You talk to the accounting people and they'll tell you that no, we were not making any money, but we were keeping the lights on and we were building stuff every day. But literally about 3 out of the 5 days a week, I was in the English wheel putting curve in the panel, and I was smiling, and I was smiling ear to ear. And I was like, I am actually doing this. This is amazing. And I just wanted to buy a planishing hammer, and today it's like, well, how do we do that? The next thing, right? So how do I buy a CNC table? So I don't know.
Right. Like I said, you put in 50 hours a week on a minimum average here, so I'm not going to take up too much more of your time. And we definitely will do this again sometime, because there's a bunch more stuff I know we could talk about. We had some adventures, same shows over the years, so there's some stories to tell. But for now, let's just leave it with folks. If you don't follow Riggs Fabrication Restoration, you can go to Instagram, and it's Riggs Fab there, RIGGSFAB, riggsfabrication.com, or the YouTube channel where you're posting some shop tours and stuff like that. That's been kind of fun to watch. A little insight to what you guys are doing. Yeah, for sure.
That's my video guy. He's excited, and we're keeping it simple, keeping it light, and the goal is, as we finish cars, the videos are getting cooler. Especially when we drive them. So that's spread out a little further. But
I had a fun little comment today. It's like, why is it every time a car starts up and starts driving, they put these damn music over the top of it? And I was like, well, because when you shoot video from a moving car, all you hear is wind. You don't hear anything. Right. Exactly. So, that little tidbit. So you're going to get that comment if you just are driving the car and have music or something, because God forbid you want to actually hear the wind noise.
We had a video. It was a car we didn't build, but we got it and made it drivable, right? And so we got it on the road, and the video guy was just getting started, and we were test driving this car. So he and it was a cool car. So he drove along beside us and drove with me and all this other stuff. And we had that comment, but customer had shared the video everywhere, and it went viral. I mean, it was like out of like 30,000, 35,000 views. I'm like, holy cow! Because normal for me is like 300, and but he was out there pimping that video out left and right, and it was cool. I mean, it was a neat video, but no sound of the car, and it was lake pipes on a 383 stroker. I mean, come on, there was plenty of sound, and the video guy was like, "Oh man, I can't believe I missed that." Oops.
Yeah, it takes a little effort to get that recording without the wind noise in there, but
yes,
it's feasible. It's just a pain. You have to figure it out how to do it. So, well,
or do it in the parking lot. So,
yeah. We could sit here and talk for another couple hours, but let's go ahead and call it quits for tonight. Let you get back to your life a little bit. I'll do some editing of this video here, video and audio. And so folks that want to follow you, so I forgot Facebook. Of course, you got a page there as well for the shop,
right?
And if they want to get a hold of you, there's contact information on the website. So if they have a project they want you to work on, or if they're at the Good Guys show coming up in the first week of June, if they're in the area and they want to see the shop or something, I'm sure there's something that could be worked out there.
Yeah, we're right down the road from there.
That show, but I'm going to try to make that show. So we'll see. Now that Back to the 50s is back on, we're like, okay, now that's like 7 shows in 8 weeks that we're going to do.
Hey, but what else are you doing?
Oh man, rest at some point. A little sleep.
Well, you can't buy wood, so you might as well.
Can't build my shop so I can't work on my car, so might as well do something else.
Exactly.
So, all right, man, we're going to set the recorder here, and we'll talk for a little bit more. But everybody, make sure you go check out Riggs Fabrication and Restoration. Follow along on their social media stuff. If you have some work that needs to be done, you're in the Fort Worth area, or you're wanting to just find a good fabricator. This shop does a lot of great work. So thank you, Jay, for taking time to be on here. And I guess we'll hopefully see you at the Good Guys show there the first weekend of June.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us. It was a good time.
Man, that was a lot of fun talking to Jay. I always have a good time talking to him. You can probably see that I'm wearing a different shirt if you're watching the video, so you can tell this was not recorded at the same time as the other part. But no big deal. I still remember what we talked about, and I remember that we could have had another hour conversation, because we did. Once we turned the recorders off, we just kept going for a long time, and it was actually kind of fun to sit and just BS for a little bit. So, and a lot of the shows, what sound was that I just made? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. You can tell I'm out of practice with this stuff. The couple shows I went to really have helped to be able to get back and see my friends again. This whole pandemic thing, obviously been awful on a lot of levels for a lot of people who lost loved ones. Not trying to talk, make that minimize that or whatever. But I need to see my friends, and I've noticed over the last year that the longer I go without seeing my friends, the worse mood I get to be in. So it's really been good to go again and see old friends here or there, and see the familiar faces and hear the stories that we've probably heard before, but to sit and just share, what we've been up to for the last year, which honestly hasn't been much. It's been really good. Just good to be around friends again. I don't want to get too mushy here. Let's talk about something that's been bugging me though. Why not have another rant here? So over the years, I've noticed there's a handful of social media pages that are just real rat bastards. These people take, and not just mine, they take photographs from all over the internet. They just literally use a Google search for hot rod or something like that. They go download every photo they can find, and then they upload it to their pages. And especially on Instagram, sometimes they'll tag the photographer, and sometimes they're like, hey, tag the photographer if you know who it is, and then make sure to buy our merch. It's at the links in our bio. You rat bastards. You take a photo from somebody who's traveled all over the country, thousands and thousands of dollars out of their own pocket to do it. Not to mention thousands and thousands of dollars of equipment that they take to do it. Some skill they've learned over the years. They take these photos, and you like it enough to steal it and repost it and not give credit, and then have the titanium coated balls enough to say, buy our merch? Rat bastards. Seriously, you're garbage. Go take your own photos to promote your own sales. Go out there in your own pocket and lose money for 20 years straight doing it because you love it, because you want to share it with other people. And then say, buy my merch, and nobody's, really buying anyways, but whatever. But don't take somebody else's hard work and use it to promote your merch. Now, some people say, well, this is not what you do with your stuff because, a couple of years ago, hey, this guy's got my car in his calendar. He didn't even ask me. I should be compensated. Sit down. Sit down, dude. Because everybody else who gets that calendar goes, dude, my car's in here. They buy like 5 copies. They're excited about it. They want to show it off to their friends. I don't do this to make a ton of money. The money I make on the calendars each year barely makes Royboy Productions break even for the whole year. Okay? You have your car at a public event. You're not asking for compensation from magazines if your car gets in there. So just sit down, son. Cool it. You're not that important. And by the way, the car was cooler when the previous owner had it. So, there you go. I'm probably going to get myself in trouble with some of the stuff I say in here, but I don't care. I'm tired of these people who are just like this. They're just takers. Just take. You got to give back, man. You got to give to this hobby. Building a cool car or screwing up a car that was cooler before you owned it, that's not enough. Oh, I'm just doing this for me. Well, it's okay if you just want to be selfish like that. That's fine. That's totally fine if you want to be selfish. You've got the right to be selfish if you want to be. I think that makes you kind of a piece of crap, but you can be selfish if you want to be that way. I don't know. I listen to guys like this, the guest on this week's show, like Jay. He's not being selfish. He's building. And he's like, hey, I can use the talents I have to earn a living for my family and for 10 other people's families by giving people work that's better than they could do themselves at home, and they're happy to pay me for it in exchange. That's an amazing thing. All the builders out there doing that, awesome. That's great. I love that. That means you're putting something into this world. But the people who just take things, well, I'm just going to, what was the one? It was like Black Crow Car Education System or some crap like that on Facebook. 500,000 fans. Maybe 100 of the pictures of the 100,000 or so that they had posted, maybe 100 of them were pictures that the actual promoter of the page had actually taken. And you know what they were of? They were of keychains he was selling to try to make money to buy more hard drives or whatever he was buying, computer stuff. I'm like, all you're doing is right-clicking and downloading everybody else's copywritten work and posting it, but you call yourself an education system, so that makes it legal because you're using it for educational purposes. That is just getting around the law, you piece of garbage. Folks, don't follow these pages. The ones that only post pictures that other people have taken. The ones that only use those pictures to gain a following so that they can then sell products to people. Don't follow them. In fact, if you see them, if you see something on there and you're like, hey, that's Dan Podobinski's photo. That's Dan Greenberg's photo. That's Travis's photo or John Jackson or Mossy. I mean, any of the guys that are out there taking photos. Oh, that's so-and-so's photo. You should comment, hey, that's so-and-so's photo. Didn't know they gave a bunch of people the right to use it or something like that. I mean, now if it's on Facebook, if I post a picture to Facebook, I know there's a share button and you can share it. That's fine. That's 100% fine because it's coming from my page. However, if you take the photo that I've taken, a photo that I have a small watermark in the corner of, then you crop it so you can't see the watermark and then post it on your own page because you got to have all that attention for yourself. you are a rat bastard piece of garbage. See the difference here? I hope you do. Oh, that's just something that's been on my mind lately. There's a couple other things that have been on my mind, and I'll probably get into those as well next few episodes. Maybe I'm just a grouchy old man now. Maybe that's just who I am, but maybe it'll be fun to listen to. I can tell you right now, there's somebody listening to this that she's going to be texting me a little bit going, you are just a grouchy old man now. Sorry, honey, I kind of am. Enough of that crap. Please, as we get into this summer, we start to get out there to go to more car shows. Please enjoy yourselves. Don't get to be a grouchy old man like me and think about this crap that doesn't really matter. Take your cars out. Enjoy some time with some good friends. You never know when that one friend won't be able to be around anymore. And, not to be too down about it, but we've lost some people this year, and we lost some people last year that were pretty awesome people. And I just want to see more of you at the cool shows I go to. I'm hoping we get busy enough at work that we could justify another person coming on board so that I can take time off and go to some of the shows that I'm going to miss out on this year because I can't take time off this year. We're just not there yet. We're too busy for me to take time off when the bosses aren't around. So I won't be getting to go to, of course, Hot Rod Dirt Drags is canceled for this year, but I won't be getting to go to the Custom Car Revival. I just can't make it. It's the week before Back to the 50s, and I know that we're going to be thrashing after being out at 2 shows. So we have a 1 weekend off, and then we go to Back to the 50s. And after that, we've got like 5 or 6 shows in 6 or 7 weeks. It's going to be a crazy run. I just can't take time off to go to that. I can't take time off to go to the Flaming Gorge 4th of July celebration for Woody's birthday. That is amazing time up there in Flaming Gorge, Utah. Not going to be able to make that one either. We'll be able to do the KKOA. I'm hoping to be able to take a little time off for that. It's back in my old hometown area, which is only like an hour away. But I'd like to go up there and hang out with friends who've just been coming for years and go, just shoot the bull and sit at my favorite bar and have a drink and listen to some live music. That's going to be a good time. We are planning to be at the Hot Rod Rock and Rumble at the end of August up in Colorado Springs area at the Pikes Peak International Raceway. That will be a good time. It's been a great time every time I've been to it so far, and we're going to have a lot of fun there. Of course, Labor Day weekend, you got Grease-Rama, and you've got rescheduled Lone Star Roundup. And I mean, I love you guys, Continentals. Love you guys. I don't think I need to be driving to Austin Labor Day weekend. I think that is going to be hot and it's going to be miserable. And not yet, man. I think I'll wait and, hopefully next year get to go to the show when it's back in April like it's supposed to be. So I'll probably end up going to Grease-Rama that weekend. Of course, now we're talking about September. There's shows stacking up right after that. You've got the Lead Ain't Dead show in Dewey, Oklahoma. And then the week after that is the open house at my work, Affordable Street Rods. I'll be there. If you want to go see a little bit better scenery that weekend, slide on up to Central City, go to the Hot Rod Hill Climb. Going to be a good time. Shows are going to be coming out again this fall, and I really hope to be able to go to some of them, to see you guys at some of them, and to, share some stories and sit around the parking lot and host hotels after hours and tell some lies and just have a good time. That's what we do. So, enough of my little rant tonight, the grumpy old man rant. I hope you enjoyed the interview with Jay. Please go follow Riggs Restoration and Fabrication on all the social media stuff. If you're in the area, or even if you're just willing to travel to the area to have them do work, please do so. They are a great shop, and I think you'll be very happy with what you find there. So until next time, folks, stay safe. Don't die. I'll see you at a show. Thanks for listening to another episode of Chrome Pipes and Pinstripes. If you got to this point, that means you listened to the whole show, and I appreciate that. So I want to throw one thing out here. If you dig what I do with these podcasts, you dig what I do with RoyboyProductions.com, please consider going over to patreon.com/Royboy Productions. patreon.com/Royboy Productions. That's where, if you feel like it, you can say, hey, you know what? I'll throw Royboy $1 a month, or $5 a month, or $10 a month, because I appreciate what he does. Talking about myself in the third person sounds really weird. So, forgive me for all the weirdness here. If you dig what I do, please come over here and help support what I do, because it takes a lot of money to go to these events, to stay in the hotels, to buy this expensive equipment. All of my equipment is getting pretty old. So the podcast recorder right now is held together with just prayer. I think that's the only thing making it continue to work. And I will need to buy a new one at some point this year, and they're quite pricey. So I'm not trying to complain, just saying thank you for all the people who have helped me over the years by buying hats and shirts and stuff. I'll have new shirts out this year. And in the meantime, you can go over to RoyboyProductions.com, check out all the stuff I have there. If you feel like throwing a couple dollars a month at me, I really would appreciate it. It's patreon.com/Royboy Productions. And I'll work out some stuff that the people who donate there get a little bit of heads up and get some stuff ahead of time. All right. Thanks for listening. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye now.
Well, somebody's got to ride this dinosaur.